Welcome back to Sorry We're Booked. I'm Lainey.
I'm Jessica, and today we're going to go over a topic that is near and dear to our heart.
Yes.
How to get out of a book slump. We all have them. We've all had them. We've had them this year.
Yep.
Sometimes they're, just for a season. Sometimes they're longer. I've had some last years at some point. I know. That's heartbreaking, but it happens.
One bad book
Yeah.
can just do that to you.
Yeah. For me, it's also sometimes like seasonally. Like sometimes seasonal depression is a real thing. And so I have to really fight hard to find like good books that will make sure I'm like, I can get through this season, But yeah, sometimes it's just not as enjoyable. And that's the whole thing for us is, reading is supposed to be enjoyable. Like it is a hobby. It's an outlet. I know for me, and I don't know about you, Lainey, but for me, I think since I've gotten on like Book Talk and started following that, I feel this incessant need of like consumerism and consumption. And
1000%.
if you're not reading 50 books every 2 months, like what are you doing?
Yep.
And that almost overwhelms me to where I'm like, maybe this isn't for me.
I'm not a reader.
I'm not a real reader.
Yeah.
When I've never thought that of myself in my entire life until social media.
Yep.
Like I am a reader through and through.
Yep.
Born one, will always be one. So I don't know. It's sad. So we're here to tell you that, if you're listening to us and you might be someone who enjoys reading as well, I hope. And, we just want to say it's okay to not give into that
1000%.
consumption. Yeah.
I did get off Book Talk for a little bit this year because like you were saying, I was just following all these people that were able to read or listen to about 20 books a month.
Yeah.
And they would just rapid fire. And I got to the point where I was like, you're not even digesting what you're reading at this point. You're just cranking them out for views. I mean, I can't knock them for it because it's their job and they have to pump out content. But at the same time, like they're not doing it for the love of reading.
For the love of reading.
That we try to, always try to have in our lives. And so anyways, that helped a little bit. And then I just have like a few people that I follow now that like, just take things slow and read what they want, read what speaks to them at that point.
Yes.
And that's helped a lot.
Yeah.
So
Anyways,
so I feel you, girl.
Yeah. So together we've compiled a list of things that have worked for us in the past when we've had book slumps. I know for me, and the hardest part for me is when I feel one coming on, I have a hard time stopping a book. I really have a hard time stopping a book. And I've had to really give myself permission of like, there's too much good to read to waste my time on this. So like for me, one of them is stop forcing books that aren't bringing me joy. Because if I continue to force those, that's what gets me in a book slump. I'm like, why is everything I'm reading terrible? It's like, because you're not stopping when you know it's not good. So for me, my number one recommendation is like, give yourself permission to stop, go away from the book. Yeah. DNF it, or just say, you know what, I'll come back later at a better time. It's not worth it right now. Like that's my number one. Just give yourself permission to stop.
I think you and I are both similar in that we're very perfectionist and we want to have that completion feeling of I completed this book, I pushed through, I read it. But you're exactly right that it does more damage than good if you're just forcing yourself to read something. And life's too short.
Right.
Go read something fluffy. Go read something fun. Yeah, there's a billion things out there. One of mine is read shorter books. If I'm in the middle of let's say a fantasy that is just 900 pages long and I am just struggling, I'll switch to like a short mystery, short romance, something just to get like, oh man, the feeling of being able to turn pages quicker can do, I feel like, numbers when it comes to just getting out of a slump. And then, let's be honest, like completing that on Goodreads and being able to mark it completed,
100%.
It makes you feel better because you're like, man, I'm getting somewhere and I'm not just stuck in this crazy book that I'm enjoying, but at the same time, not so much. And anyways, that helps me, especially like really fast-paced mysteries.
Yes,
that's what I always
those
go
are
to.
really good. Yeah, like the McFadden ones.
Yes,
hers are just quick and easy. Like, let me just go through these real quick. Yeah, I've done that before. That kind of goes along with mine. One of my other ones is just switch your genre, because you had mentioned like I'll just move to a mystery or a thriller. For me, like I can kind of feel one coming on with romantasy because with Onyx Storm, and then I mean it's just been a lot that I'm like, you know what, I think I still have a love of reading, but I feel myself kind of getting into this weird, I'm not enjoying it as much. I'm just going to switch genres. And so I'm like, you know what? I need a good thriller. I haven't listened to a good thriller in a while or read one. So sometimes just change up what you have been reading. Yeah. I've noticed that too. Our book club, we did a kind of a stint of a lot of historical fictions.
Yes.
And they're deep, those, which are great books, but they can get really deep to the point where like I was feeling it. I'm like, man, I just feel heavy. And so I was like, you know what? I need a lot of fluffy romance. So I went through like a whole 7-10 book binge of like, I just need, it's like quick dopamine hits. I'm like, I need as many as I can
Hermione
get.
right after that.
Yeah. That's a good one for me. I was just like, I need some quick dopamine hits to get me back in there to like palate cleanse and move on. And I'm like, and then now I'm like, you know, I haven't read a historical fiction in a while. That might be, now I'm at a happier place. Yeah. It just changes your mentality when you're like doing a complete 180 in an opposite direction. It feels good.
Have you ever gone back to like one of your favorite books and reread it?
100%. That's actually one of my tips as well. Like I know for you have your like cozy reads. Even if they're not like a cozy, you're like, they bring you this cozy feeling.
It's just the best. I reread A Court of Mist and Fury every single time I get down, because I'm just like, it's familiar. It's revisiting something that makes me happy. I love the characters, and then by the time I'm done with it, I'm like, okay, time for something new.
Oh, 100%. You know, there's now, by no means do I know the evidence behind this. I know it's out there. There is this like scientific evidence-based concept behind that. Of
is it really?
Because the same is true for TV shows. Like it's well known that like for me, people with anxiety, like for me, I have my comfort shows that we want predictability. We want, I know how it's going to happen. I know how I'm going to feel. So like when I'm in that, I'm going to put on my Gilmore Girls. I'm going to put on Friends. I'm going to put on Schitt's Creek. Like I have these TV shows that I'm like, when I'm in a weird place, I just need comfort and predictability. And the same is for books. Like, you know how Mist and Fury is. Right. You know how it makes you feel every single time. You're like, yeah, that's no problem at all.
I never equated it to TV shows before, but that could not be more true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have that feeling of like, okay, I need this, for comfort and just to go back to it. So there is some scientific evidence behind that. Don't quote me on what article, what publishing, anything like that. I don't know it.
It's out there.
But it's out there. But yeah, that is actually true.
I mean, it makes total sense.
It does.
I never really thought of that. Yeah. That's awesome.
I guess for me, like one of those is, well, it would have been Harry Potter, but now it's fan fiction. Because that, I know it's always going to make me feel good. But yeah, I haven't reread Mist of Fury, which I need to, because that's one of my top books of all time. But Pride and Prejudice is one for me. And I think I said this in an earlier one, like every Christmas I read it because it just makes me feel good. That's like that seasonal depression. I'm like, it makes me feel good to be like,
revisit old characters that you love so much.
And need some Darcy in the wintertime. So yeah, that's one for me.
Oh, that's awesome. Another one I got is like switch up the mode that you're consuming. So let's say you're just physically reading and you're just down in the trenches of, gosh, I am just trying to get through these books but can't. I always switch to audiobooks. And then that helps too, especially in like busier seasons of life when you just don't have the time to, like 3 kids at home. I'm 3 boys under 4. Bless your heart. Every single time I feel like I have a busy life, I'm like, girl, pick yourself up. You have nothing to complain about. Jessica is the woman. So kudos to you every single day. But audiobooks, you have the ability to listen to stories. And I really do believe that it is reading a book. I really do. Because you think about people who are blind. Like they have no other option. That's how they read books. And so you can do dishes, you can do housework, you can help out your kids, you can do lawn work, whatever it is, but then still get the benefit of reading a book at the same time.
Oh, 100%. Like I consume most of my books via audio because I do have so much. It makes chores easier too. Like when I'm listening to something good, I'm just scrubbing the dishes. Like this is great, whether or not it's good content. But yeah, and also, again, something about this mental shift is getting to see how far in I am. Like with my Kindle, it tells me what percent I'm at. I'm like, oh, you're 45% of the way in. Oh, good. Versus an audiobook, you're 30. I like that because I feel like I'm making progress towards it. Versus sometimes when I have a book and I'm like, I'm not feeling it and I'm holding it, I'm like, oh, I got a lot of weight to go through. Yeah. So that's hard. That kind of goes along lines for me of like setting smaller goals too. I know for me, when I've gone through seasons of like, oh, I don't feel like reading, but I do still want to consume a good book. I'll say, you know what, let me just do a chapter every other day, or like if I just dedicate 10 minutes a day, because it's also like a habit. It's like I love going to the gym, but there's seasons where I do not feel like working out. So do I stop completely, or do I just continue to build small habits of like, okay, I'll just go for a 15-minute ride. I do the same with books. It's like, because I know that once I stop reading, if I'm in a bad enough slump, I'll have a hard time picking it back up. I mean, like I said, I went years for a while there of not reading because I also just kind of out of sight, out of mind. So I'm like, okay, small little steps.
And it's funny too, because like even if you'll set the timer for like 10 minutes, oftentimes you'll find yourself going way past it because you're in it by that point. So if you're just like, give it 10 minutes, if you're not feeling it by the end of 10 minutes, then you have permission to quit, whatever.
Yep.
But then oftentimes you're hooked and then you'll just keep reading.
Exactly. So. Exactly.
But you're the one that reads till like 3 a.m. every night. So I don't
know it's not a good goal. It's not a good goal. I'm just saying if you need help. But yes, I also am the one that's
You're such a night owl.
I am. I mean, I'm also, the bags under my eyes beg to differ.
Nope. You're glowing. You're radiant. I don't know what you're talking about.
The concealer.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
Maybe she's born with it. Who knows? I love it.
Oh gosh. Have you ever taken a book? One of the points that I have is like to the library or like a cafe or somewhere fun.
Oh my
gosh.
Like
you just got to read in Steamboat, right?
I did. And
How
it was
glorious.
That?
Yeah.
It was glorious.
You've got like the mountains in the background and you're just loving life.
Yes, I love it. So for a while there, this was pre-kids. I had a goal of, and I don't know, it was just a weird one. I told my husband, I'm like, I want to try every local coffee shop in DFW area. And I always took a book with me because there's just something. What do they say? They say there's something to be said about romanticizing your life because on social media you see people and you're like, their life is so amazing. You're like, your life is amazing. If you would just take a step back and look at it. And so what I would do is I would take my Kindle, I'd get a new coffee. Like every time I'd go, I'd look around, I'd enjoy it, and I'd sit down and I would romanticize my life of like, I get this privilege of reading a book in a beautiful setting with a yummy coffee and maybe a biscuit or whatever. And there was something about it that just felt life-giving. And so it's romanticizing your life.
Awesome.
But I want to make a goal to visit like really cool indie bookshops now. We got some really good ones in our area that are opening up.
Dallas, Lower Greenville has like 4 that they do like the walk that you can hit each one.
What?
I want to go on a book club retreat so bad.
Let's go.
I know. We need
Bags
to do
are packed.
it.
Let's go. I didn't even unpack from Steamboat. Let's go.
Let's save up our money.
Yes.
Go spend, because that's the tough part too. Because you're like, man, you don't go just to look at. You want to buy the books too. But just go into like little coffee shops or little bookshops or something like that. Just gets you
like
in
a
the
local
mood.
park and like the little lakes by here and stuff. But we have like 2 new bookstores. One just opened up in McKinney too. Yeah, that's like 2 stories. I'm like, I just want to go. There's one in Fort Worth. Like there's so many. There's an amazing one in Waco. I love. But anyways, romanticize your life. Take a book. Go somewhere else and just change your scenery.
Love that.
I love that one. Yeah, that's a good one.
Hey, I'm trying to see all the other ones I have. Do you have anything else that comes to mind?
One that's helped me in the past is, I've been in the same book club for 10 years, but I will say when I first got into it, I wasn't reading very much. And there was something to be said about joining a book club of people who, when I love my book club because they'll tell you it's okay if you don't read it, just come. And sure enough, like you go and you've built these friendships and you enjoy your time. And like there is times that I'll go to book club and I have not read the book, but the memories I made along the way with the girls make it to where the next week I'm like, I'm going to do next month. I'm going to make sure I read it. So I recommend if you're not in one, find a book club. There's literally thousands. There's virtual ones, there's in-person ones. If you can't find one, start one. Like had it not been for Corey saying, hey, I have this idea, I wouldn't have this beautiful friend group 10 years later. That they are the ones that help me also read genres I've never considered before that have made me love reading even more. So I recommend joining one or starting a book club, doing something, or doing like a bestie read.
I was about to say, it doesn't even have to be a club. It can just be meeting up with a friend to talk about a book.
Yeah, say, hey,
and just nerding out.
Oh, I love that because it's like, hey, I saw this book. I really want to read it. Are you interested? Sure. I have a friend right now who she is doing a book with a friend every month. I think my month is August. So shout out Priscilla for that idea. I think it's a fantastic idea.
So fun.
And so she's doing a buddy read with someone every month.
So fun.
I'm like, that I have never heard of that. That's brilliant. Sign
awesome.
me up, whatever month you want. Let's do it. And so I have a buddy that I'm going to be reading with in August. I love that premise. So great idea. If you're ever like, I don't want to do this alone, or I just don't have the motivation, just like anything else, find a buddy and be like, hey, we can do this together.
Yep.
And
even if it's, are you on Fable at all?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, you can join virtual book clubs on Fable. And so I've joined one with a couple book talkers and just commenting back and forth with people about like things that we liked, didn't like. The community, you know, the whole purpose of why we even wanted to start this podcast to begin with was the community aspect is so just awesome. It really is. It's so life-giving. And so whether it's somebody across the world that you're just chatting with online or somebody physical that you're sitting down for a coffee with, it makes you just feel so much more connected to the story 100%. A lot of times as 100%. Well, because they see things that you don't, and you offer different perspectives, and well, what about this? What about that? And at the end of it, you're like, man, I have a totally different opinion about the book than when I started.
100%. I love that idea. You know, I just encourage, put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to like get on any of these communities. You're like, I don't know anyone. Doesn't matter. I was in a second. If I didn't have enough in life going on, I had joined a second book club last year. I only got to do a few months. I loved it, but I just, of course, my plate got a little full. But I didn't know a single girl in that group. And that was part of the reason I wanted to join it, is like, I'm just interested in meeting more book friends. To me, you can't have enough. I went, I loved it. That group is still going really strong. Like sometimes I'm like, I miss y'all. They did like an Onyx Storm book retreat where they like rented a cabin for 3 days. And I was like, I miss it.
I want to be that.
I know. But also I was like, I got this and this and this. One book club. Things. But anyways, like I am not the kind of person that puts myself out there. Minus this podcast is an exception.
That's
obviously.
Inspiring. That's awesome.
But I was saying, like, do it. Like, don't be afraid, because book people are some of the sweetest people I've met. And like, everyone, as long, you know,
that's what I was going to say. I only knew you going into the book club, and everybody was awesome. And now I consider them some of my dearest friends.
Of course.
It's only been like a year and a half, but I love them.
But that's what you say. So just go out there and, you know, just try it out, because it helps. And I mean, those are some of the other things I've said. I'm trying to see if there's anything else I have.
I think the biggest thing that we were talking about before the podcast and a little bit already, but just give yourself permission to take a break if you need it. You know, sometimes life gets busy, sometimes life gets heavy. You know, you don't want to force yourself to do something that you're not loving at the moment. Try a different hobby, you know, maybe switch to something else more creative, or there's a lot of things that you can pour your life and love into. And if it's not reading at the time, that's totally fine. And then revisit when you're ready.
Oh yeah.
You know,
one of my favorite things is comparison is the thief of joy. And I think about that, like, especially when I'm seeing, because I've made reading my entire personality. So I'll see on Goodreads and I'm like, man, so-and-so just finished this book. And then, oh my gosh, they have a reading goal of 100 books and I've only got 10 so far. And like, it almost makes me sad. And then same with book talk, social media, even our own podcast. It's like, hey, one thing we talked about from the very get-go, I think we talked about this before even starting this podcast, is like, we're going to be in reading slumps, and it's okay to come here and say, you know, what have we read in the month of March? And you're like, I haven't.
Nothing.
That's okay. Yeah. You know, because comparison is a thief of joy. Reading should be for the love of it. If you ever find yourself, I mean, if you're in school, then I'm sorry, because that's your job. You're a student. You got to read those books, unfortunately. But as a hobby, like, I would say just, you know, keep it within your own lane, and know that because Susan Sally down the road is reading 200 books in a year, you don't know what she's going through. You don't know if she's just someone who can, coping, or if she's reading at 2.5 speed and you're like, that sounds like gibberish to me. You know, or it's something else, or she does a 2-hour commute each way to work. You know, don't compare yourself to others. If you read one book, I was reading, I think a statistic said, like, if you've read, the average American reads less than like 5 books a year. And I'm like, dang, it's a really low statistic. And I'm just like, you know what? This is a privilege for me. I enjoy it.
It is a privilege.
It really is. And we have access to all these books and all these means. And so it's like, you know what? If at any point it's a chore, I'm doing it wrong. I need to take a step away. I'll come back to it. You know, all it's going to take is one epic release, and I'm like, there I am, I'm here again.
You're
I'm
back,
in it,
baby.
I'm in it, I'm back. But yeah, we just say, give yourself permission to say, like, this isn't the season for it, this isn't the time for it. You know, we hope that if you're listening to our podcast, we hope that we never make y'all feel like we're the kind of people that
1000%.
That we are like constantly, you know, we have very, very busy lives. We are very much human. So, you know, you might hear the same book a couple of times of like, that's the only book I read this year. But the purpose is like, you're not alone in that.
Nope.
Because it is. I'm telling you, these book talkers that have read their whole back wall is hundreds of books. I'm like,
how do you do that? You're like monetizing each one and doing the math in your head, and you're like, wow, that is
that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. No, I genuinely, so we say that as like, these are some tips that have helped us. Ultimately, there have been times when we've been like, you know what? I'm just not in a reading mood right now. And, but I'd say, hey, try to switch it up. Different genres, different formats, different locations, different people.
Yep.
Yeah. Until you find what works for you,
Absolutely.
Any closing thoughts on that?
No, I mean, you've told me this from like literally for a year and a half now, and have been such a mentor. So I just appreciate your wise words. I really do. You speak to my soul. So much love.
Oh my gosh.
So much love.
But yeah, that's what we hope you got out of this is, there's a time and season for everything. Yeah. Yep. If you have any other ones too, let us know, because we want to share to others of what's worked for you previously, because this isn't all encompassing. It's just what's worked for us.
Right.
So if you have any ideas or suggestions, shoot them our way. Yeah.
Comment.
Yeah.
We'd love to know.
Yeah, absolutely. But
build a community.
Anyways, until further reading.
We'll see you next time.
Yes.
Like, comment, subscribe, all the things. It really does help.
It does.
And we love y'all, and we appreciate y'all so much.
Thank you, Chris Hemsworth, for watching us in Australia. That's what I tell myself.
That's what we're gonna sign off with every single time.
We are, until we get a cease and desist. He's like, I don't know, y'all.
Stop using my name.
Someone in Australia is, and we appreciate you.
Yes, we see you.
We see you. We love you. Thank you. Until next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.